Take another look at Channel 13, KCPQ.
Catch the true classics aboard Flight 22, your premier class shuttle to the stars.
Q13 Reports. Mount St. Helens, 1 year later.
Good afternoon. This is the Q13 News Update. I'm Carlos Del Valle. Capitol Hill lawmakers are finally on their way back home for the holidays. Good evening. I'm Carlos Del Valle for sports.
I'm meteorologist Paul Hager.
And here's tonight's Q13 sports and weather wrap-up.
It's 9:55 in Puget Sound. This is Q13 Reports.
Good evening. I'm John Ryan. The ACLU is talking tough to the Clover Park School District.
And tomorrow's going to be warmer, but wetter.
That and more now is Q13 Reports.
Good evening. In response to a report last week that AIDS could be spread by heterosexual contact.
Good evening. Making news headlines tonight. A self-proclaimed republic on the island of Cyprus has been legally legally invalid by the United Nations Security Council.
This is a Q13 news break.
Good afternoon. I'm Bill Oltman in the KCPQ newsroom. A lawyer for retired General William Westmoreland denies that the general dropped his lawsuit against CBS because he couldn't win it. This is Q13 News up to the minute. Good evening. I'm Bill Oltman. Film director Frank Capra may have had a stroke. This is Q13 Reports. Good evening. I'm Bill Oltman. A Seattle religious leader has died.
This is a KCPQ weather update. Good evening. I'm meteorologist Paul Hager.
This is another KCPQ Sports Report. Hello again, everyone. I'm Keitha Mashaw. The St. Louis Cardinals are still leading the Dallas Cowboys in Busch Stadium in St. Louis.
It's all over but the voting in the Philippines this evening. President Ferdinand Marcos and his opponent Corazon Aquino are wrapping up their campaigning. Voting begins tomorrow. Marcos had predicted that he'd win 80% of the vote, but that was early on. He's now scaling back his estimate to a 56% win margin. Good evening, I'm Bill Oltman.
Good evening, I'm Keith Tripman. This is a Q13 Sports Report.
Good evening. It has happened before this spring, and it's happened again tonight. Another body pulled out of the Green River Gorge.
This is KIRO News Radio, live on KTZZ. Now, here's Bill Yen.
In the north of Seattle, otherwise morning clouds.
Now a Q13 Sports Report brought to you by Miller Beer.
I'm Keith Shipman.
Good evening, I'm Scott Engler.
And I'm Leslie Miller. Q13 Reports at 10 starts now.
This is Q13 Reports at 10.
The countdown to history is on tonight. 16 nations, including the U.S., are building an international space station, and the launch of the first piece into space is just minutes away. Good evening. In just about a half an hour, it is one giant leap for mankind.
Good evening. I'm Ron Corning.
And I'm Carrie Kazarva. Q13 Reports at 10 starts now.
This is Q13 Reports at 10.
It's a real violation of privacy and trust.
Sadness and disbelief tonight at Garfield High. Students are stunned after learning their principal is fired, accused of having an inappropriate relationship with a student. Good evening and thanks for joining us. Tonight, Garfield High School is looking for a new principal.
31 on this Friday morning. Here's Eminem with a label on his CD, Parental Advisory, Explicit Content.
A Puget Sound school teacher is behind bars tonight, and parents are shocked at the accusations. We'll have all the details straight ahead in a live report.
Somebody tried to kill us yesterday, and that is the story.
He says he's the target of a fanatic. Tonight, find out if police are any closer to catching the culprit behind a frightening clinic explosion.
Sure, it's better when the Mariners win, but is it safer? Find out why everything's a little rosier when the M's take the field.
And they tried a rope, they tried a backhoe. Still ahead, find out how crews finally rescued a frightened little girl stuck in a well for hours. Good evening, I'm Scott England.
And I'm Leslie Miller. Q13 Reports at 10 starts now.
This is Q13 Reports at 10, the #1 10 o'clock news.
Thanks for joining us. A Northwest teacher is behind bars tonight accused of raping a teenage boy.
Back to Queued Up Sports. Wally Walker has left, but he's sticking around.
It happens more often than people would like it to happen, probably a couple times an hour.
A common item causing big problems at SeaTac Airport. I'm Chris Daniels. We'll tell you why you'll want to check your bag again in a story you'll see first at 10 next.
This is Q13 News at 10.
You are looking at live pictures of SeaTac Airport, where tonight there is a new warning. Re-examine your luggage before you fly. Even the most common things you carry could stop you in your tracks. Thanks for joining us. Q13 has learned of new precautions at SeaTac Airport, which are causing even longer delays.
This is Q13 Morning. Live from Q13 News, Leslie Miller, Sam Shane, Q13 Double Doppler Weather with Monty Webb, Dan Devone with Q It Up Sports, and John Yeager with all things Northwest. This is Q13 News at
10. What's killing the killer whales? Tonight, the top minds on the issue are in the Northwest demanding answers. Whale experts from the U.S. and Day 7 of the waiting game. Good evening, I'm Leslie Miller.
Welcome back to Q13 Fox News this morning, 8 o'clock, February 2nd, Groundhog Day.
A former Boeing safety inspector says the company fired him because he's a whistleblower. Hear his allegations and Boeing's response. Good evening, I'm Mark Wright.
And I'm Christine Chen.
More rain on the way. Good morning. Thank you for joining us. I'm Carmen Ainsworth.
And I'm Bill Wicks.
Good evening. I'm Mark Wright.
And I'm Carrie Kazarba in for Christine Chen.
Right on cue. Q13 Fox News at 10. With Mark Wright, Laura Yamada, Walter Kelly's Fox First Forecast, and Sports with Dan Devone.
Now, welcome back. You know, the Sonics are loving the home life.
Now, live from Seattle, this is Q13 Fox News This Morning.
Well, Microsoft announced some major layoffs this morning. That's what some analysts are saying. I'm Brian Callen, and we'll take a look at the truth, the rumors, and what some employees are saying this morning about all this, coming up in a live report.
The Seattle School District might also be looking at layoffs. We're going to tell you which positions could be cut.
Then a short ferry ride turns into a nightmare for friends of a missing Bellevue woman. We've got new details, plus what investigators are saying about her disappearance.
And this morning, the governor plans to roll out her plan to help get our economy back on track. Hear about her initiative to create new jobs in our state. Good Thursday morning, everybody.
Now, live from Seattle, this is Q13 Fox News This Morning with Mark Wright, Lily Jang, MJ McDermott's Fox First Forecast, and quick commute traffic with Adam Gerke.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to your Thursday. It's January 15th.
Now, there's an earlier choice for late local news. This is Q13 Fox News at 9 on MyQ2.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Laura Yamada.
And I'm David Rose. Thanks for joining us as we launch Seattle's only 9 o'clock newscast tonight here on MyQ2.
Live from Seattle, you're watching Q13 Fox News at 10 with Mark Wright, Laura Yamada, Sports with Dan Devone, and Walter Kelly's Fox First Forecast.
A new winter storm loaded with wind and snow is hitting western Washington.
Hi, I'm Sue Bird of the Seattle Storm, and it's time to cue it up.
One of the most recognized players in Seattle and the WNBA, Sue Bird, joining us tonight. Welcome to Q It Up Sports. I'm Aaron Levine.
This is Q13 Fox News This Morning.
This is Q13 Fox News at 9.
Tonight, while a grim discovery has ties to the Green River Killer. Tonight, sources tell us it's a real possibility a skull and bones just found belong to one of the victims of the Green River Killer.
This is Q13 Fox News at 10.
Tonight, parents buy them to feel reassured. But after our drive-by baby monitor test, we show that you may not be the only one watching your baby.
It feels creepy that someone might be looking at my little girl.
And weather's on everyone's minds this weekend. Lowlands could be seeing white again, and a snowy pass means headaches for holiday drivers, but bliss for skiers and boarders. Right now, snow keeps piling up at the pass, as you can see.
This is Q13 Fox News This Morning.
An historic night in our state as same-sex marriage officially becomes law. Hear from the couples who lined up all night to get the first marriage licenses.
3, 2, 1!
And marijuana also legal in our state now. Where you can light up and how the Seattle Police Department is enforcing that new law. Periodic closures since midnight on the 520 bridge, causing some delays. Work is expected to be completely wrapped up in about 30 minutes. And more rain on the way to start your morning. Tim is here to tell us if we're going to get a break this weekend.
He didn't have no weapon. They just shot him. They could have just wrestled him down.
This is Q13 Fox News This Morning.
And good morning. I'm Brian Blakely. We'll check in with Kelly O'Connell coming up here shortly. Great to have you waking up with us on this Monday.
This is Q13 Fox News at 4.
A local teenager is under arrest after a deadly rollover crash that killed one of his friends and injured another.
But first, a local teenager is dead. Taking some of the brightest minds.
This is Q13 Fox News at 5. This is Q13 Fox News at 9.
One fugitive dead, one still at large. We have the late-breaking details as police close in on a killer who escaped from prison. We will all be feeling the heat starting tomorrow. Thanks for joining us. I'm Matt Lord.
And I'm Jamie Tompkins.
This is Q13 Fox News at 10.
Straight ahead, see how lightning struck too close to home today in one Green Lake neighborhood. In case you missed it, we've got highlights from the Blue Angels show that went all over the Seattle area today. And hear what former Seahawks great Walter Jones has to say about being inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. But first, a firestorm in central Washington.
This is Q13 Fox News at 10. This is Q13 Fox News at 11.
It is an outrageous crime targeting one of the most vulnerable victims.
Hey, my name is Jason Reed. I'm the director of Sonicscape, Requiem for a Team, and it's time to cue it up.
This is Cue It Up Sports with Aaron Levine.
But we start by putting our spotlight on Pete Carroll's famous mantra. It's not how you start, it's how you finish.
Just minutes ago, both directions of I-5 back open after a major crash involving 5 cars and a semi. We'll tell you how it's affecting your commute this morning.
We are starting off the month with a bit of rain passing through. MJ tracking when you will need to grip that rain jacket this week.
Also, bittersweet victory in Arizona. Hear from the players as they push through to the end, even after 2 season-ending injuries.
This is Q13 News This Morning.
All right, good morning here on this Monday. It's already October 1st, which is pretty crazy. Thanks for joining us here.
This is Q13 News This Morning.
At 7 a.m., it is certainly great to have you here. Thanks for joining us. I'm Liz DeWicki.
This is Q13 News at 4.
Seattle's mayor and police chief announced a plan to transform the Seattle Police Department with some hefty potential cuts to the budget. But off the top at 4, we're hearing from Seattle Mayor Jenny Durkin and Police Chief Carmen Best today.
This is Q13 News at 5.
Today I make the very difficult decision to order closures of schools in Snohomish, King, and Pierce counties.
More than 550,000 students will be out of their classrooms for a month and a half in the most aggressive move yet to stop the spread of coronavirus.
This is Q13 News at 8.
I think that this is two sides bent on a fight that it could become a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Leaders of Seattle bracing for what could be a violent weekend.
The Seattle Police Department is preparing for the possibility of protests, property damage, and potential attempts to hurt officers this weekend.
This is Q13 News at 9.
The search is on tonight for the people who killed two teenage girls in Burien.
This is Q13 News at 10.
This disease will pose a significant challenge to the healthcare delivery system across the country and across the world.
A change in the approach to coronavirus today as health officials report 6 deaths in Western Washington, with many more cases confirmed.
And most importantly, because I want to emphasize this because it might be one of the more difficult things, stay home if you are sick.
There's no vaccine and no officially recognized treatment. So tonight we are breaking down the steps that you can use to help stop any virus, no matter how dangerous.
Plus, we're tracking the latest quarantine updates and breaking down how local governments are working to slow down the virus. But tonight, many local schools are preparing to reopen after they shut down for deep cleaning because of concerns about coronavirus.
This is Q13 News at 11.
Now on Q13 News, the coronavirus is spreading in our state. More people are dying, and it's a race to contain a local outbreak. Well, tonight, a state scrambled to contain the local coronavirus outbreak as more people in our region die of the virus.
This is a special edition of Q13 News.
It is Blue Thursday, and this is a live look at CenturyLink Field, where the Seahawks will take on the LA Rams in just under 2 hours.
So are we. Welcome to the special edition of Q13 News at 3.
The Nissan Sports Desk. This is Q It Up Sports.
Well, in 1991, the legendary Don James.
Seattle, your divides are showing, and there is a big fat crack forming around Seattle City Hall.
Seahawks Gameday is brought to you by your local Ford store.
This morning, a teenager in the hospital after this fire at a family home. What we know about his condition and everyone else who is in that home.
Today is the day a large homeless encampment outside Bellingham City Hall is being told to leave, but it looks at this point like that's not going to happen. We'll bring you the latest.
And good looking start to our Friday out there. Could get real interesting through the weekend, how cold it's going to get, and the chances of snow flurries over the next few days.
This is Q13 News This Morning.
S-word. Good morning. I'm Bill Wixie.
I'm Liz DeWicki.
This is Q13 News at 4.
It just keeps rolling. We're just busier and all get out right now.
First at 4, we have weather alert days ahead as a historic heat wave blankets the entire state of Washington. We are talking the hottest temperatures ever in this region.
This is Q13 News at 8.
I love the snow. Flakes falling around the Pacific Northwest have us bundling up as we head into our weekend, and we're bracing for a dramatic drop in temperature as the next system heads our way. It's why we are under a weather alert tonight.
This is Q13 News at 9.
She feels more safe now that she got vaccinated.
Q13 News starts right now. Just days into a phased recovery, finally making it to phase 2. One county says it's on the verge of a disheartening backslide.
This is Q13 News at 10.
It burns people out. It's burning people out so easily.
Right now in Q13 News, every phase of critical care is now reaching a breaking point in our local hospitals. But running out of space is no longer the most pressing issue.
Plus, he's the most wanted man in America tonight. But the hunt for Brian Laundrie continues to come up dry. What pushed the FBI to finally issue an arrest warrant. And
But we know those pills will keep coming.
A massive drug bust may seem like a big win, but police say it is a small dent in an ever-growing problem. What this means for the ongoing opioid crisis facing this state. Q13 News, it starts right now.
I'm made and I'm keeping the promise that America will become the arsenal of vaccines.
we begin with a new phase in the fight against COVID-19. Both the CDC and FDA recommend Pfizer's booster shot for high-risk Americans. It means that tens of millions of people will soon roll up their sleeves for a third time.
This is Q13 News at 11.
Well, voters are eager for this year's election. Ballot boxes.
This is Q13 News at 11.
It burns people out. It's burning people out so easily.
Q13 News at 11 starts now. Thanks for joining us for the news at 11. I'm Jamie Tompkins.
And I'm Matt Lorge.
Hey, I'm Will Dissly with the Seattle Seahawks. It's time to cue it up.
Live from the Emerald Queen Casino Sports Desk, it's Cue It Up Sports with Aaron Levine.
This is Cue It Up Sports. I'm Aaron Levine. We start with the Pac-12 championship game that...
Today on The Divide, Democrats are in control in Washington state and Washington, D.C., so why are their gun control policies still stalling? Also, we chat with the latest candidate in the race for Seattle mayor, someone who joins a growing chorus of voices worried about the direction of the city. Plus, they claim to be advocates for the homeless, but their actions tell a different story.
This is not right, and this is not helping the people who are unsheltered.
That and more as we attempt to bridge the divide. Welcome to The Divide. Thank you so much for joining us. As is common in America, there is a renewed debate over gun control.
Good evening and welcome to Washington's Most Wanted. Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Olivia LaVoice.
Leaders in one local community are saying that the economy is close to collapsing right now. Coming up, who's behind a new push to open the border with Canada now?
Also, House State Patrol is planning to remember a trooper who just died of COVID.
And more rain on the way, but how long is it going to stick around? MJ telling us when things are about to dry out.
This is Fox 13 Morning News.
Hi, good to have you here on Fox 13 News this morning. I'm Bill Wixie.
And Liz DeWicki.
This is Fox 13 News at 4.
New pictures from the National Transportation Safety Board from the scene of that deadly train derailment in Montana. Clearly not what we're looking at here. We've got some weather to talk about right now on this Monday. A washout right now, and we're going to show you what's to come. But off the top, if you stay dry today, chances are you will not tomorrow. Thanks for joining us.
This is Fox 13 News at 5.
We don't want our deputies to get burned out.
But we're going to begin this hour in the South Sound. Thank you for joining us on a busy Friday. I'm Matt Lorch.
And I'm Hannah Kim.
This is Fox 13 News at 8.
Ezra, my Ezra.
But first tonight, Des Moines police say...
This is Fox 13 News at 9.
It's like losing a father to me.
Fox 13 News starts right now. A new video as police work to solve numerous homicides from over the weekend. This in Des Moines, outside a sports bar where 3 people were shot and killed, 3 others wounded. And police say there were likely 3 different shooters. And that was just one deadly incident we've seen across the Puget Sound since Friday.
This is Fox 13 News at 10.
We need to be more secure because it's getting worse all the time.
Now on Fox 13 News, a deadly violent weekend as police across Western Washington try to solve 7 murders just since Friday. We're taking a closer look at this disturbing pattern.
For Seattle.
And a tough loss for the Hawks in Minnesota today as a strong first quarter quickly fell apart. We'll take you to the field. And
Gabby is the most amazing person I've ever met.
Gabby Petito's family saying goodbye tonight as she's laid to rest just 5 days after her body was found in Wyoming. Now her family hopes her memory will inspire others as the search for her fiance continues. Fox 13 News starts right now. It was another deadly weekend across the Puget Sound.
This is Fox 13 News at 11.
We need to be more secure.
Fox 13 News at 11 starts right now. It was another deadly weekend across the Puget Sound. Thanks for joining us tonight.
This is Seahawks coach Pete Carroll, and this is Seattle Sports Live.
From Fox 13 Sports, this is Seattle Sports Live. Brought to you by the Emerald Queen Casino.
And Carroll and the Seahawks will have to answer a lot of questions after a lackluster defensive effort and a loss to the Vikings. This is Seattle Sports Live. I'm Aaron Levine. We will get to Alyssa Charleston live in studio on an historic and packed day in local sports.
What if you could rewind your day? See it from a new point of view. Know more about the people and places around you. At Q13 Fox News at 10, we capture your city, your life, and your view to make us your #1 10 o'clock news. Q13 Fox News at 10. We report to you.
Watching Seattle's WB22, your home of the WB.